Hey there. I'm going to wait a few minutes here, just see if people can get online. Today I'm going to be talking about SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And I'm also going to be talking about yeast overgrowth in the gut. I'm saddened to hear that the Louisiana coast got hit last night, or this morning rather. Looks like Lake Charles got hit with the Hurricane Laura. So let's keep the people down there, in our thoughts and prayers. Also, it looks like it's hitting other areas in Louisiana right now. I myself have relatives that live in Houston, Texas area, so I'm concerned about the hurricane coming through there. It sounds like the winds are supposed to drop as it goes north. I don't really watch TV that much, so I was looking at the Weather Channel this morning and I saw that the hurricane had hit the coast. And there are other folks in the path of the hurricane. So I hope that, the winds drop and that it's not a hurricane when it comes further inland. Hey, if you like my channel, can you hit the like and also share and subscribe? Hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up. This will be posted on Facebook and on YouTube. So if you missed part of it here, you can catch it on YouTube. My YouTube channel is Treat Yourself to Health. My Facebook channel is Treat Yourself to Health. My Instagram is Treat Yourself to Health as well. My website is treatyourselftohealth.com. treatyourselftohealth.com, and it's all spelled out in words. So I think on Instagram it comes up also. If you just put in treat yourself, you should see it, but it's Treat Yourself to Health. So let's just wait a couple more minutes, and I'm sorry I started late today. I definitely was trying to get some sunlight today and get my workout in. So there's a lot going on. So we're going to start talking about SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And we're also going to be talking about yeast overgrowth. And I'm not going to do a complete talk on either of these topics because I could talk for hours on either one of these topics, but I just want to give you an understanding of what it is. And this month I've been talking about gastrointestinal issues. We started out talking about gastroparesis, which is when the digestion slows down because the nervous system in the gut is impaired. I think last week I talked about that the gut has a nervous system. We skipped 1 week. I can't remember what week that was. It might have been the week before last. And you've heard me talk about leaky gut quite a bit. And really, leaky gut, if you don't remember what leaky gut is, please go back and listen to some of my leaky gut talks in the past few months, especially since COVID. I've talked about leaky gut a number of times. And you can look in the videos and you can just type in leaky gut and you'll find a number of videos talking about leaky gut. So, just in one sentence, what leaky gut is that there's some type of irritation from stress or from exposure to toxins or from exposure to foods that the person's not tolerating, which are typically highly processed foods, and it causes holes that are microscopic in the gut. So if you think of the gut wall being like this normally, and then when you have leaky gut, you have some holes, and those are microscopic holes, and what can get through are food particles. Normally, the gut mucosa or the lining of the gut has a mucus layer. It also has microbes and it has enzymes. And there are a number of neurotransmitters and hormones that are also in that area. So what happens is, instead of digestion starting to happen on the surface, which is supposed to happen, and inside of those cells, usually you get a conversion of the macronutrients, or the big particles of food, into carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, the micronutrients. And I should say macronutrients. So the food particles get converted into the macronutrients. The macronutrients go into the bloodstream and they get broken down further into micronutrients like minerals and vitamins and whatnot. But when you get the food particles themselves coming into the bloodstream, this sparks the immune system to start making antibodies, because whole food particles shouldn't be getting in. And whole food particles carry with it viruses, bacteria, toxins, etc. And the immune system sees this as invaders and starts to attack it. So this is not a good mechanism, and this can kind of set the whole stream of inflammation in action in the gut. So what happens with small intestinal bacterial overgrowth? So this is kind of a tough subject for people to kind of visualize or imagine. But if you have any understanding of what microbes are, in our gut, we normally have quite a few microbes. In fact, we have about 10 pounds, and it consists of yeast, bacteria, viruses, and other types of microbes. Those microbes assist us in our digestion. And what can happen, or what is normally there, is that we have a balance of these microbes. Science is still looking at trying to figure out what the balance, or what the normal balance is. We have billions and trillions of microbes in there. And initially we thought that there was a certain balance with a preponderance of certain bacteria, but when we were looking at this 20 years ago, we had no idea of what the diversity was. Now we know the diversity is huge, and they actually have a project going on looking at the microbiome that's akin to the project that was looking at the genome, or looking at our gene makeup, because it is even more complex than that. So anyways, what happens to that balance is that it gets tilted towards one direction that turns out to be unhealthy. For instance, what I often see is that people are eating too many processed carbohydrates, and that the processed carbohydrates are feeding the yeast species, and there are many yeast species that are in there. Oh, I forgot to mention parasites. Parasites are also in there normally, and there are pathogens, and pathogens means they're microbes that are from the outside that are probably not supposed to be in there at all. So you can have pathogens that kind of get out of control and their numbers aren't held down. And then you can also get numbers of yeast or bacteria that overgrow, and we call that dysbiosis. And all SIBO means it's a dysbiosis that's kind of entrenched in there. It's been in there for months to years. So some people have been having irritable bowel symptoms, been diagnosed with irritable bowel. They've been given medications that are quote unquote for irritable bowel. And those medications work on the nervous system in the bowel, or work on the neurotransmitters. They do not work on the microbiome. So the only way to work on the microbiome is, people ask me about probiotics. Probiotics can get you in trouble if you don't know what you're doing. And most people don't know what they're doing. They're just picking a probiotic off the shelf because someone told them that it was good. But we don't know what we're doing if we don't know what the microbial makeup is inside of the gut. And in actuality, even with getting testing gives us a snapshot in time, and it does not give us what's actually going on today. So we're still like making assumptions when we use the lab testing. So we really need to try to restore the balance of the intake of nutrients by restoring the fiber types that we're getting from our diet. And most people are not getting enough fiber. Most people eat very little fiber. They say that adults are supposed to get like 25 grams of fiber a day, and I doubt that most of you are getting that amount of fiber per day. You need to get a mix of soluble and insoluble fiber, and you can look that up on Google. But what that means is some of the fiber is actually getting absorbed and some of it is just passing through the gut. When you look at the different microbes in the gut, different microbes like to eat different foods. Just like, it's interesting that sometimes when you have cravings for certain healthy foods, it means that some of those microbes in your gut are actually looking for those foods, and they will send signals out to tell your brain to look for that food. Yeah, they are actually controlling everything in your body, the microbes are. And that's why I said you can talk hours and hours about these topics, because it's very interesting when you look at a lot of the research and what's being said. So the other thing I want to talk about is, let's talk about yeast. Okay, so when we talk about this SIBO, you can have bacterial overgrowth, you can have parasites that are taking over, you can have imbalances, or you can have overgrowth. Now with yeast, I think a lot of people are wondering, well, how can I tell if I have yeast in my digestive system that's kind of overgrowing or taking over? Well, you may have cravings for sugar. You may have blood sugars that are out of control despite like eating well. I think cravings for sugar are very, very common. And those cravings for sugar are those microbes or the yeast that are sending signals through the body to get you to eat sugar because they want to survive. And it can be kind of intense when these yeasts are being killed off intentionally by medications, or by changing your diet. They will test people's willpower. And so it's good to know what's going on. Like, for instance, when people go on diets, a lot of times they're having yeast die-off. So in the beginning of the diet, the cravings can be really intensive for a couple of days, and then it drops off. Yeast also produce toxins, and yeast are related to molds, and sometimes people can have actual molds in their gut that are coming from their environment. Like, they may have molds or yeast that are in their homes or in their kitchens, like in the garbage disposal can be a place where yeast lives, the dishwasher, the washing machine. So it's important to kind of stay on top of those and let those areas dry out. And if there are any wet areas in the home, to make sure you're getting mold remediation, mold assessment. If you live in the East Coast is full of mold, and a lot of people's homes are full of mold. So, and that can get into the gut and cause problems in the gut. So, let's also talk about, so say you have yeast in the gut. What are some of the other symptoms other than craving sugar? Well, I like to look at people's tongues. I always have them stick their tongue out and look at the tongue and see if it has a white coating. A white coating or problems with kind of, people can even get thrush in the mouth, you know, like babies get thrush, adults can get thrush, especially adults that are immunocompromised. But I've seen people have close to thrush and they don't even know it. Another symptom, a lot of times women will have vaginal yeast infections, and they keep treating them and they keep coming back. And medications tend to cause like rebound with the yeast in the gut. So it'll kill off the yeast in the gut temporarily, and then the yeast will come back really strong, especially when the person's had it for a long period of time. There can also be problems with digestion, a lot of gas. And this is what prompts people to go to the doctor, and then the doctor tells people that they have an irritable bowel, and then they start taking irritable bowel medications, or they try to tell them to change their diet, and they're eating vegetables that may cause gas and bloating, or beans, and it'll make it worse. So there are things that can be done with the diet and the digestion. And it just depends on what's going on with the person. Stress can also increase the amount of yeast that's growing in the gut. Stress causes the adrenals to make more cortisol. The adrenals making cortisol causes the liver to make more blood sugar. Blood sugar feeds the yeast. Sugar makes happy yeast. I find that most people simply have a problem of eating too much sugar. They're not aware of all the foods that have sugar. And even though fruits and some other starchy vegetables are fruits and vegetables, they still may have sugar content, and typically people don't take that into account. And so that can also help to perpetuate yeast in the body. I've seen people have fatty liver, problems with the gallbladder, problems with the prostate that may be tied to chronic yeast overgrowth. And that's because yeast and mold produce toxins, and then your liver and the other associated digestive organs like the pancreas and the gallbladder have to handle those toxins. They also have to handle the microbes. And when you have overgrowth of yeast or SIBO, you have gallbladder duct, you have pancreatic duct, you have those ducts can also be involved with the intestinal overgrowth. And when that happens, you can get gallstones, you can get pancreatic stones, you can get pancreatitis. Different things can happen because of the imbalance of the microbes and then the imbalance of nutrients as well, and the type of nutrients. A lot of processed foods can contribute to these issues, or mold and toxins in the foods, which is a whole nother talk. Maybe I'll talk about that next week, mold and toxins in the food. But these are topics that you can Google, you can look up, and there are ways to combat these issues. And what I would say is that, you should contact me, consider getting a consult from me. I'm on Push Health. You can find me on there, depending on what state you're in. I will offer coaching to people that are in states that I'm not licensed in. I will only write prescriptions or give prescriptions in certain states. I do have packages that I can order and that I can offer for people that are in states in which I'm not licensed. So you need to contact me to find out specifics of that. And I'll say that SIBO and yeast can be difficult problems to combat on your own. Most people that have these problems are going to need to get some kind of help. And what I've seen a lot is I've had people come to my practice that have purchased packages from other folks. And whenever you purchase a package, that is not customized to you. So you may need to take a step up and get some coaching. Purchasing a package may be a good way to start, but if you're still having problems with SIBO or yeast overgrowth, you may need to get some help. So, and I also find that people who have not done any work on their stressors and figuring out what their stressors are, sometimes that may be getting coaching. It may mean getting a psychologist to work with. It may be getting some energy work, working with homeopathics, essential oils. There are a number of modalities that can be used to help people figure out how to deal with the stressors. I'm sorry that probably, that wobbling probably made folks get dizzy, but yeah, so that may be a place to start. Getting help with sleep, if people have sleep that's compromised, maybe another area that needs to be addressed in order for getting the gut function to work better. The gut is tied to the brain. There's a gut-brain connection. It's tied to stress, sleep, neurotransmitters, well-being. So all of those areas need to be addressed. And if they haven't been addressed, that might be why someone may be experiencing problems with SIBO or yeast overgrowth repeatedly. Also, like if there are situations in the housing or with the folks that people are living with in their home, or that their work, another area that people don't think about is interfacing with a workplace that has mold, workplace that has a sick building, could also be causing problems. So I look forward to hearing from some of you. Hit me up on Instagram. Hit me up on Facebook. Like I said, that's at Treat Yourself to Health. Hit me up on YouTube. Please comment, please share, please subscribe, please hit the thumbs up or the like button. And thanks for joining me today. And if there's some topics you'd like to hear about, please, please suggest some in my Facebook. We're a week away from September, so in September we'll be starting a new topic, and I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks so much, and enjoy your day. And like I said, let's keep the folks on the Gulf Coast in our thoughts and prayers.